we call our home. We can't change what's been done, but it's still our run. We are one with the world. We can make a brighter tomorrow. Together make a change. It's our life. We can't step back from what we know is right. So let's shine our light.
Catalyzing Change Week 2024 is building the social innovation sector from the 6th to the 10th of May. Players of the social innovation sector, from knowledgeable academics paving new paths to government champions igniting policy shifts, have curated over 100 action-oriented sessions hosted from more than 30 countries in a mix of up to 6 languages. The outcomes of these sessions is intended to drive the development of a highly impactful sector. The goal of CCW 2024 is to tackle the challenges of the sector and embrace solutions that would bridge the gaps in policy, behaviors, and mindsets through innovation and collaborative action. Let's create lasting change together. Register for CCW now and check out our events calendar at catalyzingchangeweek.catalyst2030.net.
Hi, I'm Sanjoy Roy, the co-chair of the Catalyzing Change Week Programming Committee. Welcome to Catalyzing Change Week 2024. This is where we'll not just have conversations, but we'll actually see change. We'll see change makers, innovators within the social space. You'll meet government folks and funders. You'll see people who've done excellent good practice that we can learn from. And most importantly, it'll be a place to network, learn, and exchange ideas. So do dive right in to the Catalyzing Change Week 2024 and enjoy the experience.
Welcome, everybody. I'm going to hand it over to the hosts of this session to introduce themselves. I will be posting this check-in question in the chat just so you can contribute and get to know each other. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Gloria. It's such an honor to be on this session today. My name is Precious. I'm the founder of the organization Vessels of Virtue, which is a social enterprise. I'm also a Catalyst member. I'm a proud Catalyst member. I'm going to just maybe allow my guests if they can quickly introduce themselves, if that's okay.
Absolutely. So since I took the word, I introduce myself quickly. My name is Julia Kurt. I'm here under the capacity of Organization Women International Trade as the president under the International Board. And we are an organization which is really fostering and embracing, bridging the gap between women on the ground, women entrepreneurs, and trade and business in all around, globally around the world. We've got many, many chapters in Africa. It's blooming, it's great because of the African Free Trade Agreement that just recently, about 2 years, I guess it was released. And because of that, we are really fostering and doing capacity building workshops. We also want to serve as an advocate for trade policies on the ground and making sure that it has got an impact. Moreover, we are inclusive. We are present all around the world, and we are looking forward to this wonderful conversation with an impact and also some suggestions and key takeaways. Thanks, Precious, for inviting me.
Thank you, Julia. It's always an honor to have you. You are such a remarkable woman, and all the best with the wonderful work you're doing. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to be in this Catalyst meeting. My very first time to be in it. My name is Dr. Anastasia Kimeu. I'm a board member of the Vessels of Virtue, Kenya. Glad to be involved in the work that Precious is doing. She's a co-founder of our organization, and we are engaged in empowering women and youth and the elderly to transform their lives through their livelihoods by ensuring that they get included financially in areas where they can actually improve those livelihoods. We seek to support them by partnering with like-minded organizations to not only enhance their abilities for getting to the level of financial independence, but also being involved in the communities where we work to improve policy on how to include women, youth, and the elderly so that the health, education, nutrition, and all aspects that touch their lives and aspects that actually determine their health are improved, because we know policy is everything, and if policy is not implemented accordingly to improve lives of the people who are engaged at those marginalized or remote low resourced areas, we have a challenge of actually meeting our social development goals. So we are focused on ensuring that the greater population that is at the grassroots, the vulnerable populations, can actually access finances to support their livelihoods in what they do best and what they know best. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc. It's an honor to have you and your wisdom, expertise as always. Looking forward to what we can do in Kenya. Fungi Samshonga.
Okay, hi everyone. Thank you for having me here, Precious, and the team. It's an honor to be here. My name is Fungai Samushonga. I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm a CEO of the Veracity Group, a group of companies that provide consultancy services in business management, healthcare. We also do international recruitment, and we provide healthcare services in the UK and globally, with hubs in the UK, Dubai, India, US, and Canada. And furthermore, I'm also a certified international professional coach and practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming and timeline coaching, specializing in business coaching, executive coaching, mindset coaching, leadership, and life coaching. I'm also an author, a pastor, and international speaker. I'm a registered healthcare practitioner and a member of the Organization of Women International Trade, OIT UK. And we also consult with the local government and represent the Black and Asian and ethnic minority groups. And I occasionally speak at the parliament, at the APPG groups, as all-purpose groups, and advocate for different things, whether it's women in business, whether it's culture, whether it's leadership, and things like that. I'm also a founder of Overflow Women's Organization, a charity that seeks to educate, equip, and empower women. And my personal passion is to inspire endless possibilities.
Thank you so much, Fungi. It's an honor to have you. And I know you're one person, you live what you say. I've seen you in action, doing phenomenal work, helping people beyond borders. And I know today our center of conversation really is on the wonderful work that women are doing, but there is this, this bug that continuously affects all of us, which is finances, to be able to scale our impact, to scale our work across the continent. So in our message, really, where we are founding our conversation on, we know that female entrepreneurs have closed out the access to finance space due to gender disparity, inequalities, patriarchy, general lack of training and collateral, as well as legislation gaps that do not protect women. It focuses on women from marginalized communities and those that have previously disadvantaged backgrounds. So the purpose of this session is to develop a financial inclusion model that benefits women organizations to access funding to support and scale up their activities. The research is motivated by the need to achieve financial inclusion that is not driven by gender characteristics, but the need to support all entrepreneurial organizations holistically. I know that women are doing so much, and predominantly if they are in Africa, women are trying, and as much as they are trying, there's this factor of financial inclusion that's affecting them. So I thought that today we can zero in on these challenges that women are facing. We can possibly come up with solutions to help some of the challenges that women are facing, the exclusion around financial inclusion. So once again, thank you, Catalyst, for having us today. It is an honor. We are really looking forward to a meaningful conversation. We wanted to start on the issue of policy around financial inclusion. So I'm gonna start on describe the program or project or policy period or setting, location, the structure or target population or activities, if applicable, that you have undertaken in the wonderful work that you are doing, either through OWIT organizations or through Vessels of Virtue or in the UK. We just wanted to hear some of the policies that have been implemented, that you have implemented as an implementer, respectively. So maybe if I can start with Julia, then we can have Fungi and then Dr. Anastasia.
So thank you so much, Precious. The very first important thing is definitely to raise awareness and to name it as well, to measure it. Where are we standing now, and why do we still need to discuss these kind of challenges and barriers that we have and under the women entrepreneurship landscape? Because if you think about the world, everyone is included. Everyone thrives for inclusion. However, in practice, we've got still gaps. So the very foremost first step, which OWIT is also addressing, is to put these on the table and discuss this, converse about it, raise awareness to actually highlight that we still have these biases. And these biases are profound. It's not even on policies. It's really societal. Yeah? And why are we have these structural biases disproportionately impacting women, particularly in accessing finance itself? You know, what are these barriers? We need to highlight them. We really need to name them. We need to put them down. And then afterwards, what OWIT is also focusing is on emphasizing the crucial role of developing inclusive financial models that not discriminate based on gender. And for that, in terms of being able to do trade, and I'm looking from a global point of view, right? To do global trade, we are always starting different trade series, like how to do trade, how to expand, how to be global, and how to access finance, how to grow your business. Because ultimately, this is what we want as women as well. If we are there, we have a craft, we have something to sell, we need to make sure that we have as well the funding required. And there, it's always a barrier. So we need to have support for a holistic approach. One size fits all does not work. That's for sure. Each country has got their own societal barriers, their unconscious biases, how they have been grown up, how do they say women, how do they see women in this kind of women entrepreneurial landscape. And we really need to consider it's not only the provision of finance, but also supportive measures, such what? Capacity building workshop. This is what we do as OWIT. Training, mentorship, women who made it, role models, listen to them, not reinventing the wheel, sponsorship, and legal support. Because it's not easy to be a women entrepreneur and to know what are your rights, what can you request in terms of accessing finance. There's so much resources there that women don't know. So we as OWIT are committed to make this more public, to be a destination for women entrepreneurs where they can go in and see, oh, there is World Bank, based in the US, who has got funds, how to request these funds. We don't know all the time. So we are acting as a catalyst, and this is the weak catalyst, between, the real world where everything is possible and there are many opportunities, and also amongst the women entrepreneurship globally. So we're addressing globally and call out for something else, advocacy for policy change. We need to have policy reforms, but these need to be tangible. They need to be realistic and they need to be implemented. Only writing something down does not work. As we go ahead, and I know Fungi, you know about it, that Noreen, our president for OWIT UK, already started a different program to really analyze and deep dive into what are these trade policies, how is the impact on the real world for women. That's a collaboration between WTO, World Trade Organization, and OWIT UK and OWIT International, which is great. Some kind of pilot phase, We shall see what the outcome is. But more for another really important thing is call for community and stakeholder engagement. And for sponsors, and for that we need to have man included as well, because men normally are not even aware that there is a bias. Sometimes we need to train them as well. We need to train them that they know that they have unconscious biases or they react differently. So we need to have everyone, because collaboratively we want to thrive for growth. We want to thrive for a better world, and the better world will be created with equality, with equity, and that's what we need to go for. And it's so important that we have in the stakeholder engagements government bodies, sponsors from big companies, key stakeholders in the country where trade is happening, in the country where women want to advance and shine and bright. And we as women shall be not shying away to raise our hand and say, I'm here, this is what I want, and you know what? You will get it the way or the other. So there are some thoughts that I put together in terms of how we can maybe bridge, and I think for sure, bridge the gap, and how we can advance even further. Each step counts. So with that, I'm just closing down to give space for the other speakers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Julia. That's very insightful. And I think you touched on a lot of things. We must acknowledge that there's the bias. We must acknowledge that there isn't equality in terms of financial resources that are available for people. And from the place of acknowledging, then it helps us to actually then deal with the real issues that are affecting women to access the support that they need. But again, just as something that I would want to pose to all of us here, that, you know, there's often a statement that a lot of people says that we rise by lifting. And I think even us as women, we must also begin to be intentional in rising by lifting others, be intentional about it, creating space for others when we have the opportunities to do that. I think we must be intentional in doing that. So without wasting much time, I'm going to ask Fungi if you can jump in with your insights on that. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much. And thank you, Holia. You've exhausted everything there. And I was like, oh yeah, thank God she's covered all the work. Yes. And
but I'm sure you have got more to say, Fungi.
It's good, because then it gives us more time to ponder on the real solutions. And I think the first step of this change, you know, is the conversation. And I'm excited that we are having the conversation now, because many times people know what's actually going on, but shy away from coming up and actually saying we are experiencing this. And we've got to understand what then is marginalization, and from which context, like what Julia alluded to. It's different. Every continent, every country, every place is different. For some, it's cultural. With some, it's religion. With some, it's society. It's the different expectations in different places. So we have to zero in on the different areas that we need to look at. And I think your research focused on sub-Saharan Africa.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think there's a voice for everybody else in the world. People at different stages of experiencing this. So it's beyond just a poverty or a disadvantage, but it is a systemic form of oppression. And what systems are we talking about? And who can inform in changes of those systems? So it's the government, it's the policymakers. And how are we engaging with these people to show them that there is an unfairness or no equality in certain spaces? Because you find that even now, even in the IT, in as much as the world is digitalized, the IT space is male dominated.
Yes.
So it means that that's also affecting the West. It's not just for Africa. So marginalization is happening in so many sectors, in so many different variable ways. But the fact that we're having the conversation, the fact that we're identifying things, is what data are we collecting? Because the data is what proves the disparity that is there in the world. And the fact that we're now engaging in research, it then evidences the need for change. And even as we are, in deploying and employing the change, we can then measure the effectiveness and evaluate how it's working and impacting the different societies. So it's all also about that. So we need to then find forms of getting this data, statistics, whether it's from the World Bank, whether I've got a few statistics here from the UNICEF as well, and what it is pointing at. Then actually, when we are faced with the real and accurate data, then we can analyze, then we can, put the adequate response or support or effort that is actually required. So you find that people, women in some places, especially in Africa or in Asia as well, in other places, are routinely excluded from decision-making processes. So if we are talking financial inclusion, how are we as women rising into decision-making places? How are we empowered to take up those spaces? So unless we are also empowered to take up those spaces and inform, there will always be a disparity, because it's only when you know the challenge itself, how you can also challenge. I speak to people that come from different places, and as a foreigner in a foreign land, I live in England, and the locals don't understand what struggles there are to get a visa. What are you talking about? It's because they have not experienced that. So it's unless the people that are experiencing the challenge speak up and engage in the processes, then that change can be made effective. Okay, so as of September 2022, there was a lot of women excluded from access to education, job opportunities. Even if they had the education, the job opportunities, again, male candidates were given priority. And then again, males were being paid more, according to the World Bank. There's a 76% of males are being paid more globally than women for the same job. So those are some of the disparities that we have to challenge. But what is the root cause? Where did it come from? So it came from those societal injustices, economical things, and some places women were stay-at-home and homemakers. And so as men grew into the marketplace and into different roles, women stayed back and made provision at home. So those disparities did not really come as a target to disadvantage women, but societally and somehow women stayed back, looked after children at home, and then it then grew, the gap grew. We talked about the overflow women's and programs that we do. A lot of the women, I'll read here, it says they complain about sexual harassment. They have opportunities for jobs, but once they are in jobs, men are harassing them. It's like, you want this job or you want this promotion, do this with me, and then I'll give you the promotion. And all of those processes and things and actions, they have to be annihilated to create an equal space, a fair space, what can I say, a conducive space for both males and females to thrive together. Okay. Absolutely. And again, living in the developed world, people have options. But in some spaces, especially sub-Saharan Africa, where you did your research, people don't always have the choice to walk away. So if somebody would harass me, I would just resign and move on, because there's options. But in some places, there isn't options. And those are the options we want to create, the jobs that people are free to go and work without the fear of being harassed. So that's also part of the solution. Let's create safe spaces for women that are there. Again, according to the UNICEF, it says less than 1/3 of girls are enrolled in secondary schools in Pakistani, in Zimbabwe, which is part of sub-Saharan Africa. It's less than 1/3 of girls. And that's a significant number. We can say it's an improvement if we look at the previous statistics, but it shows you what's going on in the world. And again, UNICEF says in Nigeria, 10% of women have jobs. And yet when you look at the population, the larger population is females, and less than 10 population have girls. Again, in contrast, Rwanda has done very well. It has a female led state, head of state is a female, and over 60% of legislators are females. And that is a very good example that we could follow. I won't exhaust everything else, but they said if every nation or globally 1% of women were employed, it would contribute, it would increase to a GDP of 28 trillion in 2025. I'll read the statement clearly, actually. It says, if participation in the workforce worldwide were boosted by just 1% by women, right, it would increase the GDP by 28 trillion. So statistics show that women have a significant contribution to the GDP of the whole world, really. So are we significant? Yes. Have we got a part to play? Yes. Is there an opportunity? Yes. Is there a change that needs to be made? Yes. And those are some of the solutions. I will just stop right there.
Wow, wow, wow. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Only 1% can contribute such a huge margin.
Yeah.
Imagine too, I guess maybe the adage is true that when you empower a woman, you've empowered a community.
Yeah.
This is so profound. Thank you so much. You touched on very critical issues here, that the systems, we must address the systems that are part of the oppression. We must engage the policymakers. We must collect data, and not just data, the real data, because that until then, we won't be able to actually deal with the issues as they are if we don't have the right data in place. And then also, I think one of the things you touched on was exclusion in some of the areas, which is like ICT and other things. Then it becomes a culmination of all other things that women are being excluded from. Again, I think for me, even when men are being paid more, it's an interesting conversation on its own. I would like to think that people must be paid based on their competences. And again, we're still navigating a lot of things. So I can only imagine if a woman is in a foreign country, you are probably Black, there's just maybe a ripple effect of marginalization that's going on. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And again, I think it's a call to us, or even on the call, that we must really occupy decision makers seats that make sense, that we can be able to influence and bring about the change that we want to see. Dr. Anastasia, please, can you bring your insights on this conversation that we are having at the moment? Thank you so much. Over to you, Doc.
Thank you so much, Precious. What a lovely conversation and music to my ears. When I hear issues of systemic challenges coming through, data issues needed to be solved, and even the idea of making sure the woman actually gets involved in the policy setting agenda. For me, I think that I'll only add a few areas that I think would also spruce what we have discussed. To me, as we look at the sub-Saharan Africa, I think we can begin to review the policies, a systematic review to establish where we lost the ball as women, to understand what challenges in sub-Saharan Africa have policies failed to really take the woman and her group, the woman, the girl, and the young people that the woman lives to mentor, why they have never been included in financial independence. Systematic review of policies helps us to understand, then what are we going to do in the sub-Saharan Africa as a region, country issues, subnational issues, so that the people who matter in ensuring that policies are implemented, and those come right from our national assemblies, or where rules and laws are made, parliamentarians, we can begin to structure processes of using the data we collect to make sense to them in terms of how that data will count for their votes. As you know, politicians are looking for that which will continually give them votes. And if we do not engage political circles, we fail to bring our policies into fruition. In other words, we need to engage the politicians with the rightful data that talks to, one, The 2/3 in my country, for example, Kenya, we talk about 2/3 of our parliamentarians being women. It never happens. And if we have the women not represented in our legal forming bodies, then what we are talking about will never find its room in our departments of health, departments of trade, departments of agriculture, and so on and so forth. So I think that getting the legal systems in place, right from the legislature, then the executive, which is the leadership at national level, buying into this policy information, because science says that if you have data should inform you the way you should actually change people's lives. So I think that engagement, meaningful engagement with people who matter in the country, people who matter regionally, people who matter globally, and forcing the changes that we need, advocating for those changes that we need with rightful data that speaks to them and speaks to what they are passionate about. If it's parliamentarians, they are passionate about votes. If it is a global leadership, they are passionate for seeing changes in the particular area that they lead, for example, health, trade, and so on and so forth. And we use these bodies in the region, bodies at national level, to engage meaningfully. I want to just say that at VOV, the little time I've been at this beautiful organization, we are already working towards ensuring that we engage leadership at the topmost level when we enter a country to implement a project for women, youth, and the elderly, so that we can get everybody buying into our ideas and placing that inclusion at their doorstep, where they feel, they act, and they look for results because they've been given that which is passionate in their hearts. So that for me is a differentiator when we engage meaningfully to ensure that policy making actually takes the role it should take. Policy agenda, policy implementation, policy formulation and policy implementation involving the woman and involving the people that are actually going to make the policies work. Thank you.
Wow, Doc, that's really, really profound. Thank you so much. My key takeaways from your contribution are that we must have a systematic review, because it's another thing to get the data, but what are we doing with the data? We're using the data for the greater good. And then are we engaging the right stakeholders? Because I think also the other challenge is people working in silos. And you are so right. I think in terms of implementation, what I've also felt was that if you engage the right people at the right level, you get the right support that you want. So the conversation here today is of financial inclusion. And we are saying that we are doing our own research to see that women get the right support that they want. So we can't obviously work in silos. We must engage the right people, knock the right doors, have the right conversations at the right level. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I think Catalyst as an organization, Catalyst 2030 as an enabler of the SDGs, they are very good in doing that. I think they engage the right stakeholders, the right policymakers. They are also engaging the likes of us that are social entrepreneurs, and they are creating spaces like this for us to actually have these conversations. And I would like to believe that these conversations, they don't end here. We're going to actually come up with ways of implementing what we need to implement. So in the last remainder of the time that we have, I want each speaker just to maybe propose solutions that you think that can be implemented by social entrepreneurs, leaders at grassroots level, at the high-end level. How do you envision, what do you see in your mind as financial inclusion? What needs to be done to make sure that women are included in this whole scope of financial inclusion? And I'll start again with Julia. Please take us through. Thank you so much.
Unmuted myself. So thanks so much. It's really insightful, these conversations, and we need to keep doing this. We need to keep doing this. And as I alluded already, one size fits all does not exist. Every region, every country has got their own challenges and barriers. At the end of the day, it boils down to empowerment, boils down to role models, sponsorship, partnership, and having men included, because we are working side by side. It's for the greater community. It's for our greater, better world that we want to create in peace, because we know for a fact if women are included in kind of all the decisions which are made on the CEO level, on the political level, there will be courtesy, there will be kindness, there will be compassion, but also decisiveness, also action, because we women are taking part in doing things. We are the doers. We're not really the people who are just sitting beside and don't do anything and just talk, because we as women are mothers, we women are daughters, and we know what challenge means in any aspect of our lives. So coming to the real aspects and to see, and Precious, you do great stuff. I really appreciate it. You know what you do in terms of research, specifically being targeted, because this is where you need to start. You can't tackle globally. It's not possible. We still continue. We need to continue these conversations. It's really important. And as our doc already said, how are we going to use this data? Whatever you're going to do in the research, Precious, what are the findings exactly? Have you included everyone? What type of surveys do you use? Because, you know, I know from a fact, and this is what I do and advise to all my entrepreneurs where I'm coaching them, because apart from Orbit Presidency, I've got my own job, which is really about career coaching, entrepreneurship, etc. Is about go to the deep, go do one-to-one. It's not a survey to be sent out, but really go and sit down with the woman who's doing the work, who's trying to get the finance. What are the struggles exactly? What are the blockers? They start the process. I did it myself. I start the process and suddenly I'm stuck and I don't know where to go to. And then I feel frustrated. And then I don't want to even take it forward because I think it's useless. And you leave it there. Then you lose to grow. You lose the competitive advantage. We give up, so we shall not give up. At that point, there must be people who can support, organizations who support, and always strives to be that organizational support mechanism for women. So we need to have constant thorough analysis in a practical approach of a research in linking financial inclusion to increased competitive parity with male-led organizations as well. What is happening there? I mean, we know the women part, what happened, what is happening on the male aspect, you know? What is the reason that sometimes we are stuck, not accepted, don't get the funds? Is it the pitch? Is it the creditworthiness? Is it the reputation? What is it? We need to understand. And how actually can we bridge that in a very practical way? So continuous data research, but not only research, this needs to go hand in hand and in parallel. Otherwise, we lose time. We already lost time. We know, according to WEF, to get a gender equality on all levels with fair payouts, with fair salary, with equal salary, right? And it's the same in Switzerland, by the way. There is inequality. It's not equally paid, even if you have the same position. Mind-blowing, yeah? But it is the truth. What we need to do, we really need to work as well at the same time to have one step after the other whilst we're doing data research more and more, and we can use lots of technological aspects to make this a bit more easier for us. And support for, and I know Doc also alluded to it, we need to have women at the table. That's what I'm saying. Claim your space. And we women are equally as well, not raising our hand. We shall have succession planning in a way where women are also at the decision-making table. And that's so important. That starts even from small. We as women or mothers need to be role models for our girls as well, to say, hey, you can do it. You are courageous. You shall raise your voice, raise your hand. We shall be involved in politics ourselves. So even political little societies shall be more including women, so that we have more women under the succession planning, and to have it at the board level, to have it at the political level. Because we know how it is. The same for STEM. Technology, IT, I mean, Funya, you know, I mean, there's so little women, but at the moment, We are the ones who need to start from the grassroots, from school onwards, from education. And education starts not only in school, it starts at home.
Yes.
So at home, there shall be a wonderful family model where the mother and the father do share the household chores, that the girls and the boys are not differently treated. They have the same opportunities and differently encouraged to take any risk, any leap of faith. Apart from that, from the education piece as well, it's the support for legislative and policy recommendations. And here, really, there must be strong support for the recommended legislative changes and policy interventions. And this comes from us. We shall be advocates as well. The more we can raise our voice, the more we can, in any kind of circumstance, the better it is. And these are crucial for creating a more equitable business environment and ensuring that women entrepreneurs receive the support they need from the start of their business. And urgency for action, again, it needs going hand in hand, right? We need to implement these changes, even if it's little ones. It doesn't matter what it is, but the more we work on it, the better it is. The evidence presents already, providing a compelling case for immediate action. We know it. If women thrive, communities thrive, world thrives, countries thrive, and we are going to have an equal and fair environment for everyone. It's a different story. We know it. It's proven. And these disparities shall be not longer allowed to persist. And there, it's everyone's responsibility, even the woman on the ground. And Fungi, you mentioned very nicely, if I'm mistreated, if I'm bullied, you know what, I'm going to raise my voice, I'm going to HR, I'm going to report, and I resign ultimately to have choices. Again, we might have opportunities. Not everyone has got that opportunity. Still, we need to find our allies. If this is the case, find someone who can be a mentor, a coach, an ally for you in these circumstances. Show you the way. Don't shut your mouth. Raise it. Be open. Vocalize it. Say it. And if we say it, we name it. And the more it is, the better it is for us. And again, continued research and monitoring. It's not only research. We need to monitor as well. How do we go along? How do we implement behavioral change? And I know for a fact as a coach, like Fungi, NLP, executive coaching, etc., that behavioral change is not easy to adopt. Because we're talking about embedded, engraved cultural, societal, religious backgrounds and how we grew up, etc. How are we going to make that change? And that means slowly but surely, and never giving up, and continuously monitoring and continuously holding each other accountable. Having even a buddy system amongst us to say, hey, Fungi, did you do this XYZ? Did you apply for the fund? No. What's the reason? What is the blocker? How can we help? How can we find someone? Find solutions. Be proactive as well as not giving up, constantly monitoring. KPIs, key performance indicators are also important because whatever gets measured gets done. If we don't know where we are with our research and what's the impact and what still needs to be done, we can't progress. So this is a continuous effort of learning, research, monitoring, raising your voice, having these conversations more and more to even have it in parallel, have an impact. And the more impact, the more we raise our voice, the more we will have the impact. So I leave it from there. Thank you, Precious.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you so much. My takeaways there was empowerment, engagement, advocacy, consistently doing something that we are convicted of, necessary engagements when necessary. Wow. Thank you so much, Julia. And you also highlighted that what gets measured gets done. So I guess in part of this research that we are doing, we are actually measuring something and we are going to actually do what we are setting out to do. And over to you, Fungi, if you can take us through your thoughts. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, so in providing this solution, three things really. Show up. Let's show up. women in all these spaces. The world is our oyster, really. So there isn't any limitation. And I like what you said, Julia, that it starts within the household. Everybody being treated fairly. I've got a son, I've got a daughter. I have to make sure that Enoch does the same as Alicia. And as I'm raising them, I'm empowering them to say, you know, Alicia, you are equally good. You can go, you know, and do whatever your brother is doing. And it starts right there, because it's from the stems of how we are brought up, you know, from trying to twist and change the subconscious by the experiences and the memories we are creating, right? And so I'll say, show up, speak up, and stand up. So I'll explain on those. Show up. So let's show up in these spaces. Let's encourage our daughters to learn, you know, to be engineers, to be in all these spaces and things like that. Let them show up. Let us participate, engagement in all of that. You know, speak up. You know, where in areas where there is abuse, let us not tolerate it, is because there is a saying that says you are what you tolerate. It means that we are feeding that beast that's taking from women. So let us not tolerate things that are not right, that are abusive, that are not fair. So let us speak up. So unless we speak up, we cannot be heard. Does that make sense?
Yes,
we need
absolutely.
to speak up and we need to stand up. It means once we've done that, let's be consistent and maintain that stance. You know, like for instance, the World Bank says nearly 2.4 billion women globally do not have the same economic rights as men. So let's speak up on that. And yeah, this starts from 2022. And they say it's 2.4 billion, and that's from the World Bank. And you think, what? That's unbelievable in the 21st century. But these are stats that are, you know, representing the global status right now. So who is speaking up on these stats, right? Also goes on to say, okay, it says, since the COVID, while progress has been made since 2021, the gap between men's and women's expected lifetime earnings globally is 172 trillion. 2 times the global annual GDP. So it's unbelievable. And these are recent stats. And it's really scary to think, oh my goodness, the lifetime earnings and the gap between men's earnings and women's is 172 trillion. So as we move forward, we need to show up, we need to speak up, we need to stand up. And again, we need to achieve a green, resilient, and inclusive, you know, development, whether practices or policies, engage with our governments, enable to accelerate and reduce that gap. One, you know, and have legal reforms so that women can actually realize, you know, their full potential and benefit fully and equally. You know, there's another stats about this disparity that I had. It said, okay, in 86 countries, women face some form of job restriction, right? And so it's illegal, right? Women have, in 86 countries globally, they have authorized this job restriction. 95 countries do not guarantee equal pay. So if we want this, supposed to start where we are, but this is a bigger conversation which we need to have consistently, because if we have these permanent restrictions, it means there's never going to be equality. And when I was looking, these stats were released by the World Bank, and I'm thinking, really? In 2024, we still have this, and it's still allowed? How? And this is not just representative of Africa. No, it's worldwide. So let's show up, let's speak up, and let's stand up.
Wow, my goodness, my goodness. Wow. You see, I told you to our attendees that we have amazing lineup of speakers with brilliant minds. I often draw from them, quite honestly. So we must show up, we must speak up, we must stand up. It's important, it's imperative for us to be able to, to change the narrative that we are discussing today. And time is really not on our side anymore. I think we have 8 minutes. I'm going to give Doc just to present your thoughts, and then see if there's any questions from the guests. And then, yeah, we should be able to wrap up. Please go ahead, Doc.
Thank you, Precious. I think for me, my takeaway in this conversation and my final idea is that we must, therefore, doing all that we have said, we must look for evidence-based practice, which we know can actually help us to know from one region to another, from country to another country. This is working for women in terms of putting wealth into women's hands, and try and see how we can implement with adaptation and innovations, so that we can lift other women to come at par with the others. I like the idea of showing up, standing up and speaking up, because when you get there and you work with data, looking at that global wealth, global indicators of wealth versus the global barriers of wealth to women, I think we can show up, speak up and stand up to tell the world that this is what is messing up our, making women financially stable, financially capable of lifting everybody up. When a woman is financially capable, they lift everybody, including the village. So I think that evidence-based practice, I think it will be helpful for us, and translating that research that we are doing into tangible, practical solutions, fitting those ones even in the grassroots, and communicating the same in a way that everybody understands what this data means to them particularly. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I haven't seen any question from anyone. I'm just going to ask Julia to give us a parting shot in a minute, and the same for Pastor Fungi and Dr. Anastasia. Just 1 minute in case maybe someone has a burning question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Precious. And I love Fungi, the show up, stand up, and really speak up, because this is what it is about, Again, robust methodology, continuous improvement, continuous follow-up and monitoring is important. And specifically as well to analyze ourselves in terms of biases that we have, unconscious biases, to realize and be aware how to open the doors for women to enter even more. We do, but we need more. And for that, I still, again, re-emphasizes that we need to work together with the men. We need to work together and partner with the correct people, correct stakeholders, and using the significance findings in our power, raising them, making them public, having the gender parity policies and impact. These policies need to have an impact on women, and sometimes they don't. How can we do this? And call for action on all kind of men-led businesses, also banks, government bodies, and anyone who supports, to analyze what they have on the ground, what are the reasons of rejection, including marginalized, because this was actually the topic of today, how to include marginalized communities, women-led businesses even more so, and also mapping the key stakeholders to women-led businesses to allow them to, as Fungi, and I love that, really, it's great, to just show up, speak up, and stand up. Because if we tolerate all the time, then nothing will change. You're the one who needs to say no. You're the one, we are the one who needs to investigate and say why, ask further information, not leaving there, being committed, being stubborn like a donkey, shall I say, but let's do it in a nice way, being committed, perseverance, and determination. And with that, we're going to be successful even more so, with everyone included.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you so much. A minute for Fungi, and then a minute for Anastasia for Doc.
Okay. In conclusion, this takes a combined effort. The locals, everybody has a part to play. The society, the local populace, the governments, everybody, who can inform. It could be the religious institutions, it could be, anybody, teachers, all of us. It's a combined effort for this to be achieved. At the end of the day, it is a good thing. If you empower a woman, you've empowered the whole community. And so, yes, that's all I have to say for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fungi. Thank you so much. Doc, go ahead.
And let's be each other's brother, sister, as we move along with this change. And let's identify the champions to gather us together at the table where we show up, we stand up, and we speak for this global movement. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Words fail me. You never said no. When I asked, you jumped onto it. You made time. I know for a fact you have busy schedules. I know I don't even need to you are some of the business people that I know. I feel privileged that you could spare time. You never said no. You came and you have shared your expertise, your wisdom, your experience. We are quite honored. And I just wanted to ask that we would want to do a report that we submit formally to Catalyst for them for a review as a way of making sure that some of the things that we raised here, they are actually critical things that can be taken up, because I kept hearing research, and also I think it's important for us to present a report of what we have delved in on today. And again, I would want us to maybe, if I get the content that maybe had prepared, Dr. Anastasia can look at it and compile something that is comprehensive for us that we can formally just submit to Catalyst and the UN as a, as a way of just trying to help the situation that we are facing. To our attendees, thank you so much for being with us on this conversation. I think we are sharing our email addresses. Would also want to encourage you to be members of the Catalyst 2030. It's an amazing platform, or it's an ecosystem builder that is budding, that is growing. I find relevant, I find it practical, with rich connections that helping me to scale some of the work that we are doing. So I will encourage you also to be part of that. And without wasting much time, I want to give over the time to Gloria. Over to you. Thank you so much for hosting us today.
Thank you so much for the enlightening conversation on empowering women. I see there's a lot of interest for people to engage with you after the meeting and help with the research. So, and there's also an opportunity for you to form a collaboration while you're working on your research and have other people join you as well. Let me know if that's something you're interested in. I can help you set it up.
Definitely, we are interested in that. We are such advocates of these things, so we are looking forward to it. Thank you.
No worries. So thank you, everyone, and I will be sending you a post session survey. Feel free to give your feedback on how you found this session and its contents. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye.
Sawa.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
Bye.
for having me. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye. Thank
Thank
you
you
so much.
all. It was great to
Bye-bye.
see you and talk to you. Bye. Thank you.
Bye, Fungi.